Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It is June 18th, 2020, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Yeah, exactly. It's more of like a jazz bass thing. Like a Seinfeld. Like,
that's what you think you're like. God, there's those videos of like people dubbing terrible like music over fish. Not that fish is great, but it's like this is what I hear when I hear fish. It's like
I mean, that is basically what I hear when I hear fish. So.
It's like peak internet stuff.
Hello and welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. This is what that's what this is. That's what this is. I'm your host. I don't know. Is it? Is it not?
Finding it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We can always cut that out. Maybe it isn't.
It's live streaming, isn't it?
This is the show. This is the future. I'm here with my guests. Welcome, everyone. We haven't done a show in about, I think it's been 3 or 4 weeks since we've done a show. So thanks for coming on, guys. Appreciate it. Having a good old time here. We've got, I'd say I have my favorite 2 guests on. I will say that. So it's cool. We've never done a show with just the 3 of us before, have we? Ever?
Come close.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys have been on together a bunch, right? Mike and Doug.
At least once.
Yeah. Well, for the podcast, so let me, for the audio only version, I am Chris Quinn, and the guests today are Mike Schallau of Is Was Brewing. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well.
We have to do some things to the standard, which is order of seniority introduction. So, Mike, you are still the senior member on the show today. So
you don't count Edmar.
No, Edmar has not yet crashed the Zoom call. But do not be surprised if I get a text asking for the Zoom link.
Send him the link.
Yeah, he'll crash. And what are you up to, man? Well, hold on. Let me introduce Doug. This thing's already completely derailed for me. And my other guest is Mr. Doug Veliky, the beer cruncher aficionado. Or how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
What's new with you?
Lots. Just got back from Pittsburgh. My family, we got out of the city for a while, and once Pittsburgh opened up, went and visited my parents who are getting ready to retire. So just was badly needed some family time. So we did a long drive with the kids, which went fine.
Good.
Yeah, and just kind of worked, but took a few days off, played some golf with my dad, and
nice.
One brewery, didn't do a whole lot, just a lot of like letting the kids run wild in their backyard. So that was fun. Then just back at work this week, catching up and plowing through a million things.
And you're still doing all that remotely, right?
No, I've been going in. My wife needs even more than I do to be on the phone like all day. So with the 2 kids as well, we have like nowhere to go, nowhere left for me to go. So I've been going in the last few weeks because it's pretty much empty. So it's been nice to have a little decent quiet.
Sure. And sorry, Mike, I totally skipped you. What's new with you?
I mean, not too much. Same stuff. We're continuing to operate as normal pretty much, and we have very low overhead, so we basically are doing the same stuff we were always doing. Kind of table beer coming out in a couple weeks, you know. People want those 3.2% single 500 milliliter bottles, so we're bringing it to them.
Good.
You call Daydreams. Coming back.
So, do you guys remember Lost Coast Brewing? California? Yeah.
I used to always buy them at Trader Joe's. They were like, Trader Joe's used to have this tiny beer section, but they would always have couple beers from them.
Some nice hot Cable Car and Lost Nation.
They have like a tangerine wheat.
Yeah.
They have like very like, I don't know what you would call it, like abstract, like Art Deco-y kind of labels, maybe.
I mean, they're
and also like cartoony.
Yeah, they're like weird modern art. Like it's like blocky and
blocky and triangles and
gradients and stuff. Like very early graphic design and like
yes. And it hasn't changed. And they have a rep. They have a rep in the city. It came in and they were saying, "Are you interested in a new hazy?" And I could hear from the other room. I was in the back trying to get stuff up on our website. And he was like, "It says you've never carried us before, but we have carried them actually forever ago. And we've got a new hazy coming out." And I could hear Max, our beer buyer, being like, "Well, you know, we've got so many hazies and it's just going to get lost." And then he had a sell sheet and I came in, I looked at the sell sheet and I was like, "Well, where's the brown ale?" They have like a downtown brown. They have an amber. And they have like an Indica IPA, which is, I think, a really nice IPA, West Coast style. And then they have a hazy. And I was like, "Where's the amber? Where's the brown? Where's the West Coast?" And he's like, "Well," he's going back and forth. And I was trying to make the case that I think you should bring those three in. I think that those would be the best sellers of your portfolio in my store. Max seemed to agree. And I said, "You've got very little competition. It's a very small market, but you have no competition there. And if you could get your distributor to agree to do it, I would at least, those are the three. If those were available, that's what we would buy right now, would be your amber, your brown, and your West Coast IPA. We maybe would bring in your hazy just to see, but we'd be probably the least interested in that one." And it was just a weird conversation. He was digging it. He liked that we were saying it to him. But I mean, sales reps, I guess, kind of have to. But
how long has this rep been in the Chicago market?
Long time.
And they've never come to your store before?
He is a brand new rep for Lost Coast.
Gotcha.
He was with two other bigger local breweries before that.
Has Lost Coast had a rep in this market? It seems like a weird move to try to now have a rep in the Chicago market.
I know.
I
mean, I congratulated him and them on doing it. I genuinely hope it works.
That seems like a mind-boggler for me to come in to now pay for a rep in the Chicago market and then lead with your hazy IPA from California.
And your wit.
The tangerine one?
The tangerine.
Is there one
that's
called,
the tangerine white.
In it?
What say it?
A shark in the name?
Great White. That's their wit. That's their big. Or the tangerine wheat might be their biggest, but then the Great White is another one. I think those are like their 1 and 2, and now they have a watermelon as well.
Good.
So, and now a hazy.
Well, did you guys bring anything in?
I think this was like an introduction thing. The way it works for those of you out there who aren't familiar with how the industry works here in Illinois anyway, you can only put in those types of orders if they're distributed through the distributor. So it wasn't like a distributor ride along where the distributor has the rep with him. He was just stopping in, so we couldn't order it. And then we asked for samples, and he didn't have any samples, but he was hoping to get them in soon.
He can't even relay to you, to the distributor, huh?
No, he can relay it, but the order has to. Every time I've ever done it, it has to be there has to be some sort of direct request from me to the distributor. They can't even just do it for me. But okay, I'll take care of it. I'll make sure it happens. It doesn't seem to work that way. They have to go through.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it has to be legal. And they can't get samples because the distributor's warehouse is totally on lockdown because of COVID.
Makes sense. Who's
So
there?
Windy City. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, if they want to be competitive in this market again, they're doing the right thing. I mean, they're getting a rep. It's so counter to what so many other breweries are doing all over the country and locally. I mean, we'll get into that maybe in a little bit, but hey, man, I'm glad that this guy's. I hope he busts his ass and does well, and I hope the beers are good, and I hope they find a niche here in Chicago.
Besides, like, very obvious breweries, do you think there's just any brewery, like, Chicago is such a competitive market, and it's become so, like, local driven in the last 6 years, right? I think there's any breweries that really have a chance of coming here as more than just like a hot spot drop and like being sustainably successful. Like, I mean, outside of like Treehouse and like Hill Farm.
Hold on, but why outside of them? Okay, so like
because they have such brand recognition that they would do well wherever they went. Are there breweries that like you could see kind of like would Beechwood come here and actually do well on a year-round basis, like that type of thing?
I mean, probably in my shop, but I mean, I think New Glarus could do that because they have that regional pull.
Sure. Like Frame, like a brewery like Frame that makes like an incredible Pilsner and like just great like West Coast IPAs. Would they be able to
nope. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's crazy.
I don't think there's really anyone short of, Treehouse, Trillium, some of like the hype ones, but they kind of are already, a lot of them, excluding the ones I just mentioned, they kind of deal in scarcity. So like they wouldn't just come in as a year-round thing because that's just not what they really do. They do drops, But I think Trillium, I think Treehouse, I think Hill Farm, I think Alchemist, I think Lawson's would not do great.
Yeah, I think it's past the time. Lawson's does amazing in Connecticut, where I grew up.
Sure, yeah, no, and they make super good beer.
Tip of Sunshine at Two Roads in Stratford, I think there, and it's like everyone's favorite thing in Connecticut.
I think Russian River could have a decent beer bar draft game. I just don't know how 500 mils are going to play. And no one could ever predict that they would move away from that. No one ever has. So I don't see that happening.
Canning now, aren't they?
I don't know. I mean,
they are canning now.
Yeah, no. It was a prediction of Doug, why don't you, Doug?
Yeah.
Take it away, Doug.
I was going to start by saying they would probably struggle on the logistics of getting it here fresh. Pliny has such a stigma attached to the freshness, which some of it is warranted. Getting that here without 3 weeks already on it would be challenging.
We just got some Mo from, or not Mo, Lunch from Maine. That was like a week and a half old when it landed here.
That still pulls, man. That still pulls really strongly.
I bought 2 bottles in the last week, and I haven't had like a hoppy beer in probably almost a year, maybe. I've had an odd two-hearted, but I haven't had a pale ale. I haven't had a hazy IPA.
We used to put it on draft back in the day when we had draft beers, and it did really well. It still pulled really strong. People would be like they'd see that, and let's say a Hop Butcher on IPA on, and it'd be 50-50, which they'd probably end up getting both, and it'd be 50-50 which one they got first. So for whatever reason, it still has that. It still has it.
It was great.
It's a great beer. I mean, I'm glad it does have it. So
yeah, I personally am coming back into really enjoying that style of beer. The still bitter, the little bit of malt character, the two-hearted kind of archetype of that style of IPA.
Someone needs to make Colonel style pale ales. That's all I want to drink.
I don't know what a Colonel style pale ale is.
The Colonel KERNEL from England.
Yeah, I've never had one fresh. What makes them Colonel style?
It's like a British Hill Farmstead. It's or Maine. It's like Maine and Hill Farmstead, but British. It's very clean, very pure, very simple. very excellent, like fermentation quality, big New World hops, and but like all just kind of very well put together. And it's kind of like, it has that, like, I don't know, like that Taras Bulba, Edward, lunch thing to it, where you're like, these beers are awesome and I just want to keep drinking them. At least when I had it, years ago, fresh, like I couldn't stop drinking them.
I've never had a fresh one. I've only had several months old.
Yeah. But, what have you been drinking? You've been drinking lunch lately. What have you been drinking, lately, Doug?
I've been kind of trying to make a point to stop at all the breweries in the neighborhood and north side of Chicago and so on. And so I've just been kind of like buying, let's say, 2 4-packs from every brewery, working through them and moving on. Most recently, I went to Off Color and picked up they've been doing those like beer for tacos, beer for golf. The beer for golf one is like not John Daly, Arnold Palmer inspired whip beer.
I mean, it's kind of John Daly.
Kind of. And those were great. I really like those. My wife and I have been doing Taco Tuesday just for something, so we know what to cook on a given day. So picked up, drank the taco ones for that, and really like that. I like what they're doing. A lot of like mixed 4-packs, kind of like what you're doing in your shop, Chris. Like they'll take, if they have four different lagers, they'll have them for sale, but also just make 4-packs where you get one of each. And so when I was looking on their website, they had all kind of options like that. So I picked up one of those just to hit each of them. And that was kind of my most recent purchase. For the Guild, the Illinois Guild is doing this program right now to raise money to try to make up for all the events that have been canceled, like Beer Under Glass. And then there was a new one that was supposed to debut that I was really excited about, that isn't happening. So breweries donated about roughly 8 cases of beer each, and then they're making these 24-pack mixed cases where you get 24 beers from 24 different Illinois breweries, most likely something pretty fresh off the line. That's not like a selling point of it, but I think that's pretty much how it turned out. And then they're putting together all these Zoom happy hours for it. So anyway, all these, and we kind of Revolution served as the drop off point. So a couple people messaged me and brought me a couple 4-packs. So I'm drinking a more Little Dusty right now in honor of Mike Schallau. And
Little Dusty. Does that make Eric Big Dusty?
No, it makes him Big Buster.
Big Buster and Little Dusty. Yeah, you're right.
We'll move right past that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we got I've got a couple people asked me about like mixed 12-packs, 24-packs, like as an event, as the foundation for an event. I'm curious to see how that goes. And yeah, we just did a mixed 4-pack crowler though. So not, a little bit different from what Off Color did. We just announced it yesterday and it was literally
Did you purge those?
Let's try it. We haven't filled them yet, but we'll have to purge them. Yep. We'll have to purge all the cans.
Can't be too dirty.
Well, there's a big people aren't on agreement about whether you rinse them first.
What do you mean? Who's not in agreement?
The crowler. I guess some people are saying don't rinse the crowler can first because that introduces oxygen. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, you're filling it off a tap handle and
you're going to introduce oxygen no matter what.
And like, what if there's like stuff in the can?
Right.
Like you got to rinse the can. And I think a lot of these, my guess and complete hot take here is a lot of the people are very worried about like their beer being like traded and shipped and oxidizing over time or something like that. And it affecting, the quality of it.
Sure.
But I think a metal filing or an aluminum filing or something, whatever debris being in the can,
right,
that can so easily just be rinsed out is probably paramount to that for me. So
right.
we've been rinsing them.
It does make a huge difference if you're like actually doing like you're canning on like a canning machine, and you have to get all that water out of there because city water has like really high DO. So if you leave city water in the cans, then you're going to have super high DO. And if you haven't had all the diacetyl precursors get reuptaken, whatever it is.
Uptook.
Broken down by the yeast, then when they're exposed to oxygen, it will cause diacetyl to form again. So, and just oxidative characters. So, yeah, I mean, rinse them, but then like, I don't know, shake them out. Like, you don't want to keep water in there, but you also don't want to have like dust and like,
well,
in there.
Well, I don't know about that.
You never know the provenance of these cans. I don't know.
You don't want to have dust in them?
Oh. Yeah, okay.
Come on, Mike.
Yeah, I do. Of course I do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want to have dust in them, but you don't want them to have it because you want to have it.
Just walked into that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, it's a crowler. That's kind of what I say. I say drink them like really fast. Yeah, like 24 hours, ideally. 48.
Carbonation alone, right? Or like even if you're not talking about like infection or like oxidation, just the carbonation level is going to be knocked out when you put it in like the same way as if you put it into a glass. So drink it as fast as you can. I mean, they'll obviously stabilize at some point, but take it home and drink it immediately.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. So we're doing we're doing 4 different Hop Butcher beers that we had on draft. We just had some kegs and we're like, let's just knock through them rather than having to growler them like one at a time. We're like, let's just sell these immediately. So we just put them up and they were gone. That fast.
The whole keg?
What?
Then you sold the keg?
4 kegs. We went through 4 kegs.
But in single can growler fills, right? You didn't
4 packs. Them. Yeah, 4 packs. You get 1 of each.
You just sell the keg to people.
So you had to hand fill those cans?
Hand sell? What?
Yeah, hand fill.
We're going to hand fill them Sunday. And that'll be the pickup day.
Is it like a can a minute that you do? Like how many is it fast?
I think we can do it a lot faster. We were trying to figure that out. I think we can probably do 2 or 3 a minute. You can do it. I mean, it's so much faster than a stupid growler, I will say. So yeah, we have this machine that Gus of Fishman's sold us, and it can only do standard diameter cans, but it can do any height. So we bought a bunch of 8-ounce cans. We tried one for our virtual tasting. We put Brooklyn Black Ops in it, and those held up, really well. People love the 8-ounce can for that.
Is it an October steamer?
Yes. Yeah. And I think we're going to try to do it with Paracelsus now, just because we thought it would be cool. So, and just be like, drink these this weekend.
Right now.
Yeah. Drink them like immediately. Drink them right now.
And then come back with more, like you can get more beer.
Right. Right. So it's like, okay, you can get a 4-pack of Paracelsus. It's the first time you'll really ever have been able to get it packaged like that, even though it's not a real package. But we have right on the labels and everything, like, this isn't a canned beer. This is like filled off a draft line.
You basically brought a glass home.
Yes. Yeah. That's how you have to think of it. But hey, I mean, I am not a fan of growlers and crowlers, but we don't really have any other options. And I honestly, like, I weep to think of all this Paracelsus going bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we pre-ordered 5 kegs, and it's like we didn't have to take it, but we're like, let's try it. Let's see if we can, get people to pick it up all at once and like just have them drink it fast and see how it works. Like, see, like, what do you think? Like, say, drink within 48 hours, like put it right on the lid. We're just adhering stickers right to it with all the information on it. I would say, and it has the fill date on it, like drink within 48 hours.
I'd say drink as soon as possible, no longer than 48 hours.
Yeah, especially for a beer like that, you know.
Okay. Yeah, well, people who are buying that probably aren't like, I can hold on to this for months. Like I go to my parents' house and there's like crowlers from like when I was there last time, like
half fill cenotaph crowlers.
Yeah. Well, if there was, that would be a lot cooler. No, it's some like, you know, like the local brew pub we went to, it just opened up that like they, you know, I talked to them about being in the brewing industry and they give you a couple crowlers you don't really want. And then they stay in my parents' fridge and they think they're cans and they're not going to drink them.
Oh, right.
So, like, if they're still in there and like I haven't thought to dump them, but got some like probably 2-year-old crowlers in my parents' fridge right now.
Really? That's amazing.
Probably not the Paracelsus crowd.
You have to
gotta try them, right?
Yeah, dude. You have to try them.
You have to try everything, right?
You have to live stream it, you know?
There's a very funny series of pictures my girlfriend has now that she sent to her friends, and she tells them like I like eat a lot of stuff, like I pick up off like I pick off a tree
off the ground. Oh,
not the ground, like off a plant, like I smell and I'll eat it. And there's like one where we're walking by this like this one tree that's like it's blooming and like it's not of me. I'm in the background of these pictures she was taking, but like I pick a flower off, I'm smelling it, and then in the next picture I'm eating the flower, and it's like I don't even realize like I'm just trying to get the experience of what does this actually taste like.
You're like a baby.
To me it's not weird. It's like I want to have these experiences so I can like when I have to like write tasting notes or when I have to like smell something and describe something, I actually have had the thing. And like it wasn't weird.
It's smart. It's smart. I really honestly I think it's smart that you do that.
Well, it's like it's not like I'm thinking about it. It's like it's just like it's like naturally occurring now. And it's just hilarious. She caught me doing it, send it to all her friends, and they're like, "That's a little weird." I'm like, "Why aren't you guys doing this? Like, this is what you should be doing with your walks."
I mean, I still smell my water like just habitually.
I still like think about what my toothpaste tastes like because like part of like tasting beer, Randy Mosher's like, you gotta like think about tasting everything. Like most people don't even know what their toothpaste tastes like. So like I taste it every time. It's also like a good mindfulness practice.
Yeah, for real.
It's like tasting toothpaste.
Well, the beer that I've been drinking, thank you for asking, lately has been this the Gauzentoren Saison d'Air Mer that started coming out in cans. I don't know if it's like incorrectly priced, but they're like $10.99 for a 4-pack, where that's the same price for a $7.50. And this is like my beer of the summer. I mean,
great, man. It's really
this beer is. Well, you're a Saison guy. Yeah. So I told you we had it, and I told you I really wanted you to try it, and I was curious if you liked it. I mean, as a Saison guy, do you dig it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, this guy's one of my like favorite. There's a lot of characters in that Saison world, you know.
Yeah,
and he's one of like the best. He's like Doc Brown hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great video on YouTube. It's like an Australian dude or something interviewing him. It's really high quality. It's fantastic. He's like very eccentric. He was like a math professor. And there's one part where he's talking about how like, you know, he started making Saison because he couldn't get Saison where he was. And he had to drive all the way over to Wallonia. And then like, I've watched this video like probably 15 times, no joke, just like watching this dude be eccentric and awesome. And like, be like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And then like I Googled.
Well,
like,
you're eating flowers, so you're well on your way.
Right. Well, there's another story where like we were in the park and I was like eyeing a dandelion, and she's like, "You can't have that. You cannot eat that dandelion because it's definitely got pesticides on it." I'm like,
dog poop.
But so like I Googled how far like Gauzentoren is from Wallonia, and it's like an hour. Like it's not like it's like he has to drive across America to get the hazy IPAs at Treehouse. It's just like we could have driven an hour to get them, but he's like, I just decided I retired and I don't want to have to drive to make Saisons anymore. So that's why he started making Saisons.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so awesome.
I mean, yeah.
It's also like one of my favorite quotes of all time is him, you know, talking about how he lets the beer ferment forever, right? Until it's done. He's like, it goes until it stops bubbling, right? I don't have any timetables. I'm an old dude. I'm retired. But that's because sweet is only good for horses and elephants. not for people. So like lets them dry all the way out. So I think we're working on an oat saison called Sweet is Only Good for Horses.
That's good.
Yeah.
The fermentation character is great on these. Some of these cans are like a rock, but they pour beautifully. I think there is some can conditioning in them. You asked when you bought it. What's your take on it?
I can't taste like the carbonation difference if there is or there isn't. There's definitely yeast that has settled out because there's definitely stuff settling in the bottom of it. I would imagine they're at least partially can conditioned because they're canned in Connecticut.
Yeah.
They ship them over on a tanker truck and can them like the Schlenkerla and all that stuff. Which I love that the things they're choosing to can are like Glazentoren and Schlenkerla. I don't know what else.
Tipo pills.
Yeah, right. Things they're doing the coolest
cool stuff. Yeah.
I don't. It doesn't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily taste like it's fully conditioned in the can. But I don't know. I taste a lot of these things, but it's also just like, it's your brain.
Yeah.
So it's not really like I can tell the difference in quality of carbonation between one thing and then between canned conditioned and fully sports carb. You can tell it usually it's when you pour it out and the texture of it, and it has like the texture I would expect this to come out of the bottle. So I imagine that and it's also to get the level of carbonation that these beers normally sit at. You can't run a canning line at that unless it's like a counter pressure filling canning line, which are pretty atypical, even still. So even the counter pressure ones are like at like 2, even above like 2.7, they get really temperamental, and it would be hard to get a lot of like really usable fills. And if you're shipping all of this across the ocean in a tanker, you don't want to have a bunch of like squishy underfilled cans just throw away. So I would imagine it's partially carbonated to get the things to cap on foam to reduce oxidation, and then finished to like where normal saison would be, dosed sugar. But that's just completely a guess.
I want to go out to that to Be United in Connecticut.
Yeah, like 35 minutes from my parents' house.
Have you been?
No, like I left Connecticut before I could drink, legally at least. And,
well, I'm saying since then, instead of drinking the 2-year-old Crowler, maybe, go to OEC. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I want to see like from a business perspective, like what have you guys been doing lately? I mean, there's been, even since our last show, I mean, there's been the COVID stuff. There's been, is ongoing. There's been the protests and stuff like that. I mean, we were boarded up. I just took the boards down 2 days ago. I mean, that was surreal. And that, I think, affected our sales more than COVID did, or as much in a way. Being boarded up, even though we were open and had open signs and had them, was like people just did not feel comfortable, I think, coming in, or I don't know what it was, but it was very weird, very odd. And it was sad. I mean, it was sad having the boards up there. Obviously, it was part of a bigger thing, something more important than a single beer store. But, just looking at it from, for this show, I think I'm happy. We don't necessarily have to keep it at that scope, but I mean, just looking at it from that scope of things, it was interesting to see how that affected people's, I think, psychology of kind of going into a store that's all boarded up.
Well, as much as it
dark
is
inside, and
as much as it is the boards, I'm sure it's the focusing of the fact that drinking fancy beer is somewhat of a luxury. And the reason those protests are happening is because some people don't even have basic, human rights effectively. So you kind of feel guilty going into buy your bottle conditioned 500 milliliter of 3.2% table beer. We're through this now. You can buy those things, but yeah, it makes sense that like when there's massive justified civil unrest, that people would not be spending on even like moderately luxury goods. Yeah, I mean, luckily none of the stores that we distribute to, at least the independent ones, were looted. Some of the binnies we sell to were looted, and they closed down for a while. But no one was in the stores when they were looted. It's just stuff at the end of the day, and that's kind of the vibe. Like, they took a bunch of stuff, no one got hurt. Like, it's what happens when there's looting. But one of the stores we work with, like, is at Milwaukee and like north of Milwaukee, like a little bit north of that, like right by that small Schallau. And their sister store, which is like down the street further south on Milwaukee, got looted. An independent store like right by them, like less than a quarter of a mile, got looted, and they didn't.
Yeah, I was sure that we were done for the first night.
Yeah, it's crazy times. I mean, I tried to do deliveries a couple days after like the real heavy stuff. One of our accounts is in like the kind of like the South Loop Printers Row area, and like I had to drive by several armored Hummers to get there. Went through like a quasi checkpoint, which was just like an inept police officer telling me that like I'm pretty far from my location I'm going to, and I'm like that's like how like transportation works. But I got there, like they were completely boarded up, and they were clearly pretty worried that they were going to get looted at some point. They didn't, which thank God, but it was really tense and kind of insane there for a minute. Even like at one of the stores I sell to in Downers Grove, I drove through downtown Downers Grove one day,
which is a suburb out here.
Yeah, and so it's this weird like juxtaposition of they're reopening a little bit faster than the city. So I'm driving through downtown Downers Grove, and there's all these ad hoc patios that are fully populated. And yet there was a protest later that day. So every store in downtown Downers Grove was boarded up, like everyone. And yet people are still outside at like 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, like filling these patios up. So it was a very surreal, like never again in my life and never before will this ever happen where I can drive through, a suburb where people are so afraid of the property getting stolen and yet still operating. Like it was a very weird time to be running around delivering beer.
I mean, it's a weird time for
everything.
For everything. How did Rev? So there's been a comment on YouTube saying that you are Jerry level talkative tonight, Doug.
Sorry, I'll kick it up a notch.
Just the tone of the kicking up a notch is
very Jerry.
Yeah.
We thankfully weren't affected from the rioting. We were definitely, like you said, Chris, probably talking about the same night, expecting it. But luckily didn't. I live right by our brew pub. Our brew pub is what was more susceptible to it. The brewery is a little bit more of a fortress without real windows or anything. So, but nothing happened. We decided to close it anyway. So before COVID happened, we were already like tinkering around with ideas of how to reconcept our brew pub, and then the sheltering in place happened, and we had to change to just like delivery and pickup only, it's just not viable at all. We did our best, and then when the rioting happened, that was just kind of like this. We were just like, you know what, let's rekindle those talks about what we were going to do, because the trends that we were seeing before this all happened are just accelerated with how it's going to be going forward. So the business was so, the delivery services, you just can't run a restaurant with those alone. And that's all we really had to get any sales. from our restaurant. So we shut it down and are tearing some things out, and we're still working through how it's all going to work, but changing the service style a little bit. And
so what are the trends that you are foreseeing? I'd like to talk about that just generally, because I think that there are some trends that, could have gone a couple different ways, or taken a certain amount of time, that have just been put into, one, they're, I think, now certain to happen, and two, have been kind of kicked up into hyperdrive as to how fast they're going to happen. So I'd be curious if either of you would.
Yeah, I mean, some are just like overall restaurant trends, which are delivery taking over, and then if you kind of are damned if you do, damned if you don't. But if you take advantage of the delivery, which will help your sales, you're giving up, call it 20%, maybe more, maybe less if you get a sweet deal. But that's just really hard to bear on a restaurant. And so that's just really, we're seeing over the last few years, delivery sales going up and up and up, and traditional sales going down. Also, it also depends on the neighborhood. That neighborhood that we're in has become much more of like a late night scene. And so that's more of like something we're trying to better accommodate is how can we be more of a place where people could grab a burger and maybe like a 19 2-ounce can to go.
DJ Dougie V.
Yeah.
Every Saturday night.
The current setup.
Right.
Yeah, it's not very conducive to like grab and go anything. So that's some of the thought going into it as well. There's plenty of other trends, I'm sure, but
yeah. I think that we are going to see a whole lot of tap rooms, restaurants, brew pubs, all that stuff going into the, you get a little stick with a number on it, or you get a buzzer, or you just, they call your number and you don't have table service anymore. And
I feel like that was probably going to happen anyway.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. And the funny thing is, like, it's a lot of the people who are, I don't know what's the cause of it, but I know that the people who were predicting this years ago were the people saying, like, sure, look out at West Coast that they've raised the minimum wage to this and that. All they're going to do is just get rid of those. They're going to find ways to just get rid of those employees rather than pay them. They're just going to get rid of them entirely. And I do feel like that is what's happening, for good or for bad. I don't know if it's because of wages or something like that, but I do know it's for labor costs. I mean, that's why it's happening. It's to cut cost is why. I think for COVID, there's another reason to do it that way. There's an additional reason, but I think after COVID's over, that's going to stay. And I don't think it's going to stay for hygiene. I don't think it's going to stay because it's a better experience. I think it's going to stay. Pardon?
You're going to have a bunch of people who go to a restaurant and like are fine with that experience, right? Of having to get up and get their food, or having to like do like, not have the hospitality aspect of it so much. And then
we'll find, yeah. Go on.
Well, why are we going to employ these people? And it brings the consumer's cost of their check total down because they don't have to tip on it. Like it's it's like I'm not rosy on it, because there are a lot of people are employed in the service industry and they do a really good thing. Like they're some of the most knowledgeable people about anything that I know are people that work in the service industry, and a lot of their jobs are just not going to come back. And that's like terrifying. Just both for a interpersonal, like my friends are going to not have jobs soon or at some point.
Or career paths.
And also just like an economic idea where like there's going to be a whole group of people who aren't considered skilled laborers we're going to have to find jobs that are significantly lower paying than what they were doing before, because they were adding value to people's experiences that is now deemed expendable. It's really bleak, but
it's a bummer, man.
Yeah, it's a total bummer. Maybe more of them will come back than like I foresee, but
I don't see that happening.
The things that people value now seems to not necessarily be like the hospitality aspect of it, or
does hospitality look good on Instagram?
Right. How do you?
Because then, they're not interested in it.
You can't take a picture of the experience. So,
but it's all about experience. No. Everything's experiential now, but which I think is also kind of a joke. I don't think it's experiential. I think it doesn't look good on. Let me shout at a cloud. No, it's it has to look good on a certain type of experience. It has to be experience that can be portrayed, I think, to social media.
The experience can't be terrible, right? This experience has to be net good for a place to survive. But the perceived experience before you go there is way overvalued right now.
Okay, so what about the places that you see in like Wrigleyville and all over the place that are like they're pop-ups, but they're there just for like Instagram and stuff like that? Is that a good experience?
Can you be more specific? Like what do you?
There's like Santa's, like there's like adult Santa places that are just setups that have. This is me saying that this is what they are. They're just like pop-up bars that didn't used to exist that are for adults, and they have like weird oversized backdrop things and like, to me they just look like photo backdrops or like weird interactive things that you can sit on, but you can't really play on them. You can't really spend time and have fun on them. They just you only look silly in a picture or fun in a picture doing it. And I think that's experiential. You go there, you get your pictures, you pay a lot of money for it, and then you leave and go somewhere else for the night to actually have fun.
You're talking about the bars, right?
The bars, yeah, the bars. Yeah.
I don't think are you saying you think like the Wrigleyville bars are like, powered by Instagram? Like
No. I'm saying like when people are saying that everything is experiential now, you know what? I take it back, because like Kaiser Tiger's doing the curling thing, and that's totally experiential and fun to do and interactive, and the barcades and all that stuff. So I am already taking back what I said.
Well, I also think a lot of people do enjoy that type of experiential thing. Like we're a specific, like a self-selected group of people who really like the thing that the place creates or what they curate. Not everyone's like that. Like not everyone like cares to go and then be like, and this thing you gave me, this is a conduit for a lot of people. It's not the end, like the reason for the
sure.
We're excited by the beer alone, but most people are looking for beer to be the secondary reason that they go out.
Some sort of unique stimulus, I suppose, or some sort of social
lubricant.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm just talking about why are those like places that have the Instagrammable walls so popular? Apparently, it's also like, first, are they? Or just seeing them a lot more? Their check totals higher. They're probably getting a lot of like people going there once to take a couple pictures, but maybe not a lot of repeat customers. But I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're doing a great job. But also like there's people that like all types of things. They're looking for a different type of experience. They're trying to do something interesting, and they also like want to do things they've seen before. Like the majority of people want to do things that they already like have seen other people they know say, this is good, let's do that. This is a good cool thing to do. So like, I mean, if you can get people to post about your thing like organically, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
No, what were you gonna say?
That was it. I just like, we don't. Have you ever been to any of those places that you are saying probably aren't great experiences?
My wife has been to a couple of them. Been to two of them.
Yeah. Did you enjoy them?
She said they were very weird. Maybe she wasn't there early enough in the night is what she thought. But
She wasn't there early enough in the night?
That was what she was saying, because it was like very loud music, but like not anyone was really there. They were all on the peripheries experiencing the place. But that was all just, selfies and pictures and stuff, and then, leaving. And then they went to another experiential place somewhere else in Wrigleyville that was more of like a outdoor, like heated tent reservation thing, pseudo bottle service. You had to like order your stuff ahead of time, but it had this like, indoor kind of like, I don't know what you would call it, like a yurt kind of like vibe to it. So it was, it was novel. Like you're sitting outside kind of drinking cocktails. Like you're not going to want to like, where's your regular place? Oh, I love to go to the outdoor yurt and have a cocktail, it wasn't that. It was like, you do that maybe once a year, maybe once every 2-3 years type thing. But a hell of a lot of pictures on social media from those two places came about.
Right. And like that's likes and pictures on social media are one thing, but you have to convert those into people actually coming and spending money at your place in a sustainable way where you don't spend a lot of money building everything out all the time, So I don't know. How do we even get on this? Like what?
I don't know. I'm okay getting off of it, Mike. Doug won't stop talking, so I have to.
I barely know what you're talking about. Is this like the Emporium pop-ups type of something like that? Like
no.
I have no idea.
I guess so. Let's just move on. Yeah, rather than explain it, let's just move on. Because I don't think any of us know what we're talking about either.
When you said Wrigleyville, I thought you meant all the like party bars, like the bars you'd go to for a Cubs game. That's what
those places. Yes, those places.
Well, you're saying that they like have now this experience in addition to the fact that it's like in the winter they have these experiences because they're dead.
Yes. They become like the Halloween store, but they become like for a month or two, they become like a Christmas bar. Like over the top, like it's like, not even, I don't even know if it's really branded the same way.
What's that bar called? Butch McGuire's you love so much that basically becomes a Christmas bar for a month?
Oh, jeez. No, it's don't go there. Don't talk about things you don't.
There's people trying to get people in the bar,
Yeah.
Next.
I think Doug had something to say. No, you just found it. Or Chris with me. No. Let's talk about something else.
Okay. How do you see? So bars are just starting to open, right? Yesterday was the first day. Has anyone been to a bar, just like a straight up bar, yet? No, I haven't. Have you, Doug?
I went to a brew pub in Pittsburgh. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, sure. Were you outside?
No, you can go inside there. They have the whole mask deal. You could take your mask off if you were at your table, but if you got up to go to the bathroom or do anything, you had to put it on tables pretty far apart. It was pretty because it was in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, so it was a pretty big space, a lot of room to work with there. No, it's pretty much what the Phase 4 rules would be here.
How did it feel?
It felt fine. It really didn't feel that odd because, you're looking at people at other tables. Nobody's wearing a mask. So it felt pretty normal, a lot more normal than I expected. So, yeah, it can definitely work as long as it's complicated running a kitchen, depending on what kind of kitchen you run. This place looked like they could have plenty of tables to make running a kitchen happen. But like some of these rules, depending on the setup of a restaurant, if you have to be at 25% capacity, it doesn't make sense. Like our brew pub could be open, but with 4 tables that are the 4 tables of 6 by our window is all we could do. So you can't run a kitchen and search for 4 tables. You will just lose your shirt doing that. So it doesn't make sense for us. But yeah, Pittsburgh's a little far. They're kind of like where we're hoping to be in maybe a month or so here, so they could do a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm curious what a lot of these, like when bars and tap rooms are going to open and what it's going to look like then. Is it going to make sense for a lot of those places to be open? How many people are going to be able to be inside these places? Are people going to want to go into? Are they going to feel comfortable in a place like that?
I think anything will make sense if you don't have food. I think it's just a lot simpler format. Like for those that are familiar with Revolution, the tap room, which is bartenders and that's it. There's no hosts, servers, bussers, cooks, chefs to deal with. It's just the bartenders. Like that. Even at like 25% capacity, it would make sense to be open if we're just slinging beers.
Right.
But the brew pub is a totally different animal. I mean, even at 50%, I don't think you can make money at 50% capacity. You could maybe scratch and claw to break even if you're very, very lucky. And even that's almost impossible.
And you're not allowed to open up without your kitchen, right?
Currently, correct. Yeah.
Currently, right. You could stay closed. I wonder if, I don't know.
You might be able to have one simple thing that doesn't require a full staff back there,
Right.
It's like you have to have your normal menu that's very complicated and it requires a lot of prep cooks and a lot of people back there, which we don't want right now anyway. So it's not that, but there might be a way to just have some simple foods. But right now, like I said, it's 4 tables is all we could do. So,
right. And
renovations now.
It's very interesting to see how stuff is, what it's going to be like, how long people are going to be strict about following the rules themselves, about making people follow them. Are people going to be comfortable? Are people going to have a good experience if they can't, like, if you go to a bar, let's say the bar is open, it's still going to be a very different experience for some people than, like, I have to go to a bar and talk to someone who's there. Well, now maybe you can't. I don't know. It's going to be harder to, because you're going to be spaced around. I don't know. I mean, think about like some of the times that have just like had a impromptu, like 3, 4, 5 person, like, stomp stish or whatever they call it at the beer temple. And people just kind of show up and talk for an hour or so. And then, some people go and somebody else comes and it just kind of goes like that. I'm really sad if that goes away,
Yeah. I mean,
it's totally gone away now. So, I mean, that's.
Yeah. I'm definitely sad if tap rooms and stuff go away, if they're weird. But like what I'm most sad about in Chicago is if like what you've seen is places that have stayed open have very, very strong, like pretty modern approaches to branding, right? Like Middlebrow can pivot to do bread and all this other stuff because they have this brand, and like Land and Sea, like the restaurant group can pivot because people like their brands. I'm afraid of like the Chicago Tavern, like the not a dive bar, but just like a Chicago like corner bar that doesn't have like anything. Like they don't, like, the thing you did was go there to be there and to interact with people that were there, and like they can sell you like your Coors Lightses or whatever, like
Old Town Ale House, to give like the pinnacle of what that is, maybe.
Right. Like yeah, or just like any of these places. Like this is the best city.
Delilah's, or
Delilah's has a more of like a niche. Like if they wanted to, they could sell a lot of whiskey and they would survive. But like just like Frank and Mary's type places,
right. Where
it's like, or Roses, or these like places that are gems of cultural, like, I don't know, like they just bring
working class bars.
Yeah, which is one of the things I love about Chicago more than like anything. And I'm really worried that
I am too, man. I'm worried that Chicago's just going to become the suburbs.
And that's a completely change like what it's like to live here.
Oh, I'd probably live.
And like, not that I go to those places all the time, but it is one of my favorite things that like I can go to any neighborhood in Chicago and find a bar that's been there for probably 60 years that is populated with people that have been going there for a long time and like has,
Well, IO announced they're closing forever today.
What is
IO, where you and I have gone to enjoy.
Improv Olympic is closing forever.
Forever. Done.
Sorry, SNL. Like when you're done. That's crazy. I didn't realize that.
But that's like a hit for Chicago, man. And like, I mean, on a smaller scale, like you're like these little Chicago places, like the Jerry's Grill on Montrose and Western. I know for those of you guys who aren't familiar with that, who are listening, I'm on
the phone. I drove
on the bone. Done.
What about today? Actually. Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
Done forever.
24/7. It never closed.
Never closed. Well, now it's always closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And it's because of this. I mean, it's because of this stuff. And what's going to replace it? It's going to be a Cricket cell phone store. It's going to be, how they have those like smaller urbanized Targets and Walmarts. It's like my fear is like that. Olive Garden's going to come up with a concept that's like that, and just start like, oh, there's so many restaurants that are out. There's so many fully set up kitchens that are desperate to get, whose landlords are desperate to get people in there. We can get in there on pennies on the dollar, give them a 10-year lease, and just get in there because they have the capital to do it. And it's just going to dilute the culture of the city. And again, I'm known for being an optimist.
Right. And to this point, and to kind of go against what you're saying, is that dollar slice phenomenon in New York, like if you go there, you can get like dollar slices of pizza.
That's cheap, man. They're usually like $2.50, right?
It's super cheap, but they popped up all over, mostly around NYU, but all over New York City. And it was because there were incredibly cheap rents after 2009, 2008, and the economic downturn, right? These places were able to open and have a specific business model that worked because their rents were super cheap. And so there was people thinking that this dollar slice would go away in 2019 because like all those 10-year leases would be up, and then they could no longer afford to stay in their places at dollar slice. So maybe something something akin like Chicago, that like will give the thing we were talking about to people for a price they more like, could happen. There would be a lot of bars that are fully built out that might be closing, where you can just turnkey walk in and maybe you can create the same vibe. But I don't know. That's what I'm most worried about, to be perfectly honest. My business is as inept as it ever was,
Ditto, man.
It's just me making a style of beer that only 12 people care about. But actually, this whole thing has actually been good for us. We've been able to sell beer directly to people, find people that like really care about what we're doing in a way that we couldn't have found before without social media is fine, but like when someone chooses to spend their money buying something directly from you in a kind of convoluted process where they only get deliveries on Fridays, and like kind of whenever throughout the day, like that's people you can like really connect with. I mean, we have
Is that a temporary thing, or are you guys going to be able to keep doing that?
It's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube. I mean, so I would imagine breweries can. I don't know how many will. It's probably not the most profitable way to do it, but for us who don't really have a tap room or don't have any way to directly connect with people, and still don't, to be honest. I can't talk to these people because we're doing contactless delivery. So I just drop the thing off, and usually at best I'm 5 feet away waving with a mask on. But it's still we have almost 90% conversion rate for people that buy beer through our website to give us their email address.
Oh, to give you your email address. I was going to say 90% of people who visit your site convert to a sale. And I was like, you have to start selling more things because
we're probably at 60% for that. But the only
that's unbelievable.
The only thing on our website is to buy beer. So
right.
Literally, the website's a splash page plus a buy beer page. So it's been great for us for that. We sent our first email newsletter out, and it had like an 80% open rate, which I was like, that's pretty crazy. But it's all people who opted in to give us their email address because they found our website to buy our beer.
Right.
But like being able to, those are the people that make you actually have a business, especially when it's really small, like ours is and going to be. So, but we've been able to find those people like in a way we wouldn't have before.
What if
negative things to positive?
Yeah. What positive things have you seen, Doug?
On the
if any,
on the customer interaction side, like Mike's saying, Chris, I know you've done a lot of these, but we've been doing Zoom themed Zoom happy hours every other Friday.
Oh
yeah, right? And those get a good 200, 300, sometimes up to about 300 people, and
wow,
they still
with like a buy-in ahead of time, or just you log on.
It's just, did you say buy-in, like pay?
Like, is it like a
we tell people
package or
through, so they have a chance to pick them up. But most of the time they're beers you can get at the store.
Cool.
Sometimes they're beers that are like a barrel-aged one, but we would only do something that was still for sale, so people have a chance to get it. We'd give them, call it 3 to 5 days heads up that we were doing this. And, Jim Seaback, our brewmaster, if it's a barrel-aged beer, Marty, who runs the barrel program, would be on it. And they're both characters of their own. So they did a good job of, and then John Carruthers, who's our communications manager, he's like an amazing MC running it, so that Jim and Marty just kind of need to show up. And John just kind of runs the show like a game show host, and then everybody's in it. And we let people talk, and we don't like silence everybody, and we ask people to mute their line, but we'll let them like unmute and ask a question.
You have 200 or 300 people who can self unmute, and it works.
It does, yeah, because we ask them, and people are respectful of it, and they only will unmute it if it's like a timely question, and then we of course save questions we get questions in advance and kind of run through those, and then people think of questions as you're doing that, so then we have like additional ones at the end. And it's been really cool. Like, we've done ones that are barrel-aged beers for the Uber geeks, and then we've done just like our sessionable beers and talking about those, and we get more casual customers coming in, a lot of like husbands and wives on a couch, but like two people, like you can look through all the video squares and you'll see like couples or roommates both sitting on the couch together, which is fun to see. People kind of were like making a night of it. I think with the warmer weather, I think these are going to be a tougher sell, and once people have been doing them for doing quite a few, they're still pretty fun, but I think the novelty will eventually wear off, and just with being outside, people want to be on their decks and not staring at the screen.
I've noticed ours are still doing well, but I think it's going to start being like I used to just literally put up the post that the event was going to happen, and now it's taking like 3 or 4 promotional posts to get to the same number. So we're still selling the tickets, but it's just taking a little bit more work, and that's always a sign of something. And I think the good weather, people being able to go out to bars, the fatigue of it, which is a good sign that people have other things to do, honestly.
Yeah, sure. When maybe like a few weeks in, or maybe a month in, when like some data would come out, there was a lot of phrasing of like, oh, people are buying comfort brands and buying the brands they've always known and loved. And, and I'm sure I even said that and kind of regurgitated some of that at some point. And I think it's somewhat true, but I think a lot of it was just like people were going to the big box stores because they needed their groceries. They didn't want to make a bunch of trips. They wanted to make as few trips as possible. the beers that are available at those stores are the flagships and the core 4 brands of breweries that are big enough, like besides us and like Half Acre, you're talking like the Bells and the Founders. Like if you go to, the big stores, so of course those brands were flying because everybody was, buying groceries and also buying their lunch and dinner, whereas they might have normally just bought, like food for the evenings. People are at home all day. So, anyway, what I was getting to is like we were lucky to be in 12 and 15 packs. We had 4 different SKUs that were in those bigger sizes. And those were literally like double what they were last year in sales. Like our IPA variety pack was kind of like losing momentum a little bit and needed something new to go, it needed some new life breathed into it. Then this happened and that thing's like double the sales. We're still like very, very down because of all the bars and restaurant business that we rely on. But there've been a few bright spots, and being in some of those big packs has been a big help to us. And that caused us to create the Anti-Hero 12 pack, which we just launched like 2 weeks ago. We kind of wanted to, we always knew that was going to happen eventually. We were just kind of like waiting as long as we could.
Yeah.
Not do it.
Pull that lever, as you would say.
That was like the monster lever that was sitting there for us, that just the longer you go without pulling it, the longer it's still there for you to pull. So, but this was the appropriate time, and we don't see this 12-pack thing dying down anytime soon. And
12-packs are way up now, man. They're way up for us.
6-packs?
Say what?
Is it cannibalizing 6-packs? And you see that, or is it that people are trading out for it, or is it just that people are buying right now? People are buying.
6-packs were still up, but like they'd be up like, I'm making up a number because it's different by every year, but 6-packs would be up 10%, and then like 12 and 15 packs would be up 90%, something like that. And it was just like astronomically different. We're in the middle of like a long-term Illinois Craft Brewers Guild conference. Like we're just doing like one session a week, and Bart Watson from the Economist for the Brewers Association, he did the opening address. And he brought up a good point that I hadn't even thought of, and that kind of supports 12 packs and a couple other trends. But he talked about how, people don't really want to go touching a bunch of things. And when you look at a shelf set, if you're at a big box store, these cans are turned all different ways. But the 12 pack is just like the billboard right in your face. And if you just think about psychology and you're looking and you see this mess of UPCs and cans turned to the side, and then you see the 12 packs, he was saying like he thinks that is kind of steering some customer behavior.
Maybe some. I'm a little skeptical on that, but maybe. I don't know. It could be. Who knows? It's an interesting theory. 12 packs are up for us, not as much as I've heard some places are like flying through them. They're definitely up for us. I mean, they're probably up 200-300% for us, but to us, that's like now we sell 15 of them a week or something. Like we don't sell many 12 packs at our shop. And that might be a little bit of an understatement. Maybe we sell more than 15 of them, but I will say that we are definitely not a place that will only have the core lineup, Doug. And I saw, and I mentioned on this show, that I saw a return to, and I didn't say comfort buying, but I think it's the same thing, this kind of comfort buying thing. I noticed too, people buying like just stuff they wanted to take home and drink and just like enjoy, not chase, not try something new. The fact that something had just come out seemed to hold almost less interest to them than trying an old favorite, retrying an old favorite. And I don't know why that was, but it might have been like a comfort thing, like, sucking your thumb or like curling up in the fetal position and having something that is just like a familiar, steady friend that I know what it's going to be when I open it, because I don't know what the F is going on, but I know when I open up this can or this 500 ml bottle of table beer from Iswas, I know exactly what I'm going to get. I think is kind of what was going on in their minds, which is why Bourgeois Daydream did so well.
Right, that was totally available during that time.
Well, I'm just thinking of the beer that I just most recently saw in a promotional email from you. So
that was a personal email that happened to be selling things.
Okay, almost snarfed beer on Zoom. Was good, well timed.
Thanks. My business partner in Iswas, and like a close friend of mine, does the alcohol buying for like a local like kind of chain. They have like 5 or 6, maybe 8 stores called Foxtrot, and he saw this like crazy trend at the beginning. I haven't talked to him since, of seltzer sales plummeting and local craft beer sales going through the roof. We had a couple talked about theories of like why that would be. One of them was that people were just trying to support local brands, because
I think that's probably a lot of it. Yeah,
push was like support your local brands. I have to talk to him if this is a sustained thing. Weather might have been part of it. It was like, kind of crappy spring weather. But like one of the theories was that it's like, exactly what you're going to get from those things. And people don't necessarily like drinking those. They're replacement level beverages for social experiences. So like if you're going to sit at home on the couch with your significant other, you're not going to have the thing where it's like, I know exactly what this is. You want to have something that, organoleptically hits you in some way, like local craft beer. But that's probably less it. I thought there might be a theory that like in these uncertain times with like steady leadership, people in fact do not want no laws when they're drinking claws. They want like a Leviathan that is telling them what to do. So they can't.
The law and order beverage.
Right. So like no laws. Not the best brand when there's rioting, literal rioting in the streets. But I haven't followed up with him about like how those numbers are faring currently. But I think that craft beer for them is way up.
Yeah, that and wine was way up for us too. But
I think the White Claws are still
crushing.
Yeah, I'm sure they're still.
So it's just probably from the big box stores, big fans.
Well, is that it, guys? Anything else that you wanted to talk about? I forgot to share the link with Ed, so I don't think he was able to crash. But and I don't think he asked. Let me check. But no.
It's okay if he did. We don't send it to him.
Yeah,
we can do one show with that, Ed.
Right.
Are there any questions and comments?
Let me look. I had that one. Oh, yeah, there is. Oh, man. I don't know what it means. I don't know what the person's saying. He says, like the rosé all day or don't grow up. It's a trap, neons.
Oh, those are like things where like people take Instagram pictures in front of them.
Oh,
really heavily Instagram things. So that's from like the throwback, but yeah, like that. I think that's exactly like that's not exactly. You were talking about like specific pop-up things, but
yeah,
those tend to. I think those types of bars that have like those. What's that?
Step and repeat almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, well, I mean, when we were making those pop-up bars with like Pipeworks and Emporium, like it was only somewhat in jest of having like grammable moments where like someone would be able to stand in this area and take a picture of that experience of being in that part of that bar. Like that wasn't something that was lost on us. And it's definitely not something that's lost on people that are designing those rosé all day or never grow up to trap, like those neons. Like that's definitely something that they talk about.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know what those are.
I don't even know what those places are though. So they're not doing a great job of like branding what that place is. Not that I'm the target market, obviously, for rosé all day or never grow up to trap, like Instagram photo ops, but like I've seen those. I know what that person is talking about, he or she, but like they, them. but it's the conversion of I recognize this thing to like I'm going to go there and spend money at that place that I feel like we're in like an era of figuring that out still.
Oh, totally. I mean, and we'll be figuring out. I think we're going to be figuring out this for a long time. Let's close out with this then. What have each of you guys been enjoying doing at home that is not directly beer related? That probably is a result of this home isolation thing, just being home so darn much.
So,
anything?
But not like, so my like blog and
yeah, no, that could totally be it. It's not directly beer related. That's you blogging, I guess, about beer. I'll take it.
I had a different answer if that was not what you meant. If you meant like truly nothing to do with
whatever you want.
I have a really tight knit group of guys that I went to high school with that live all over the place now, and we used to play poker in the late '90s with like change, but we'd play all the time. We none of us really drank a little bit of maybe our senior year toward the end, but we just like found trouble in other ways, and we would love playing poker. Anyway, we started this thing using Poker Stars, which is like one of the old gambling sites that still exists, but they have like
I still have money in there.
They have a free version, and you can create your own home club and invite, just your friends. Then you can schedule tournaments. And so we do this Wednesday night tournament that takes about 2 hours, and there's usually like 15 of us, anywhere from 10 to 15 of us in it each week. And we do the Google Meet call where we're all on the squares and we play. And it's fun playing poker where you can, when you're in a hand with someone and you're trying to make a decision, you can find them on the square and like do what we're doing now, but while playing poker. And it's been really fun. I was worried it would like fizzle out, but we've done it probably 6 straight weeks now.
Oh, that's cool.
And everybody, we get at least 10. I think we have like 16 on our list. We get 10 every week, every time.
I'm guessing you're I don't know why, but I imagine that you're a very competent poker player, Doug.
Thanks.
I imagine. Are you?
I think so. Yeah.
I have a feeling you're up. You're up, right?
Yeah. I used to play a ton. I used to go to Vegas all the time, play online all the time, like in the 2000s, that decade.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The moneymaker generation.
Well, I'd like to say I was before then. I was like the Rounders generation.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that is my number one.
Like my mashed potatoes of movies. I can just like keep eating it all the time. I had a very similar high school experience where I didn't drink in high school, but we played a lot of poker. We were post moneymaker, but then we turned into really competitive Monopoly after like playing poker, which is it's a very interesting game if you take it very seriously and follow all the rules. It's not as much fun and very competitive.
Monopoly for real? Literally Monopoly?
Yeah, we would have very competitive Monopoly games. There's like a lot of like interesting strategy. Anyway.
Yeah, no, you also tell me about it sometime. Over beer. Interesting. I don't know. I don't think I can be good at poker. Although the only time I've ever played at a table in Vegas, I was my friend got me to go into this tournament with him, and I won the tournament. I got pretty lucky, but I won. It was like a 6-table tournament. Probably like, how many is that? Like, I don't know, a bunch of people.
8.
55.
Yeah, it was something like that. So it was pretty good. So I figured I should leave it at that. Retire on top because I got pretty darn lucky. But I've been playing Kid Monopoly with my children.
And just crushing them, right?
No, they beat me up. It's a different game. It's, kids. No, it's different. We don't have to get into it right now. We'll have a full discussion on that. I think I've been enjoying playing like by myself and everyone goes to bed, playing video games again. I've just been like going and retiring to the fantasy world of 2008's Red Dead Redemption 2, and just like you can spend 100 hours playing that game if you wanted to, and it's just like that's what I've been doing, and it's I've just been blown away by it. I think it's like I like that much as like any movie maybe I've ever seen. It's like that, I think, well written and good of the game. It's like completely changed my perception of video games.
I saw some like graphic earlier today or yesterday about Grand Theft Auto specifically, and people complaining there's no new Grand Theft Auto, and I don't play video games, so this is the thing I saw. They're like the last 4 Grand Theft Autos leading up to 5. It's like, oh, they made $1.6 billion in the last 7 years or 6 years. Grand Theft Auto 5 alone has made $6 billion.
From online play, I guess?
I have no idea the mechanics of it, but like the revenues from that game or people buying it or people playing it with in-game purchases has been $6 billion. Wow. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's a really good episode of, I'm blanking on the name, that Netflix show that's kind of like the guy who, the host's name is Hassan. I forget his name. Really good show where he just like deep dives into a topic. It's almost like a daily show segment, but he does a whole half-hour show on one topic, like this industry and how this is corrupt or not what you think. And he did one on the video game industry that opened my eyes to what an absolute behemoth it is compared to like anything else. It's like,
anything else.
It's crazy. Like people think movies are big time. It's like, no, like Grand Theft Auto alone was bigger than every single movie that came out last year.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
I've played one video game in the last 20 years, including the sequels to it, but it's Halo. My friends, the same guys I played poker with, we played Halo 1, Halo 2, and when we went to college, and even after college, we would play each other. Like that's like the only game I've played, but I've played that game for I couldn't even tell you how many hundreds of hours, and got pretty good at it at one point. But I haven't literally never touched a joystick with any other game. I don't think.
Yeah, I just looked up the net revenue for the company that makes Red Dead, who also makes Grand Theft Auto.
Rockstar Games, or
Rockstar, or the company who owns it. Last year, this article was predicting it would be between 2.6 and 2.7 billion in revenue.
Well, one of my college roommates, like my freshman year, does audio design for the company one of the 2 companies that makes Call of Duties. So they trade back and forth every year, so they can keep these games coming out at such a pace, and like it's crazy. It's also like,
but that's very different from what I'm getting from this game. I'm telling you right now, I think from a like storyline, character development, immersive, everything, it's unbelievable. So I've learned that about during COVID, like to sit and appreciate, like I'm telling you, it's like Godfather level like craftsmanship. I'm like, and to me, it's like that level of like character development and everything. And I'm just like blown away and in awe. And I sit at like eating breakfast the next day, talking to my wife about it, who is like completely just like, if you could have like somehow a negative mark for absolutely like no reaction. So like less than no reaction. That's how little movement on her face there is. That's what it is. But that's the downside of COVID is I have nobody else to talk to about it. So she has to sit and listen to it. You know,
I feel like the internet is a great place to talk about video games.
Yeah, but I don't know how many 43-year-olds who are talking about 2-year-old video games, are really doing that thing. But, I'm the guy who's like, hey, have you heard about this cool new band called
Blink 182?
Blink 182? Yeah. That's essentially. It's essentially.
Hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, fellow students.
Yeah.
I think we're done. Unless anybody else wants to add anything.
I mean, like I've had a nice time. Like my girlfriend's been living with me in my apartment for like COVID, and it's been nice coming home to like someone I love, which has been very nice.
Oh, look at that! What a nice thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was. We were thinking about like what has COVID like done that's been good for you. It's like we get to spend a lot more time together. She lives in Andersonville. It's like half an hour each way, so otherwise it would be kind of a slog. But it's been nice having her. She's not even here right now. I'm not trying to win points. She's actually in Michigan. But
okay, that's a cool plant too that you have by you.
Thank you. Yeah, really big. It's actually too big for the pot, so there's a bottle of bourbon weighing down the pot, so as ballast.
Is it a good bourbon?
It's Johnny Drum. It's one of those bourbons. It's
value. It's a good value.
Is it anymore? That's a whole other podcast, though.
Right.
I used to collect a lot of not great bourbon, and so I've been trying to drink through that for a while. It's harder than you would think, to be honest. Like I just don't drink that hard anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to drink a lot of whiskey.
Yeah, it's easier to collect it. A lot harder to get rid of it.
Right. Well, that's very sweet, Mike.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for coming on. I don't know when we're going to do the next one, but yeah. Yeah. I'm not as good at ending it when I don't have a certain cutoff time, and I need the structure. I need to be there at Thursday night. I need Sergio to tell me that I have to take a break. I need him to tell me when to leave. I need my life to be ruled for me.
You can build those things for yourself.
Show me how. Teach me. Build them and then give them to me.
Seminar with me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I need. I need a seminar.
That was an unnecessary jab.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Have a good night, man. Have a good night.
Thanks, Chris. Good night.
Yeah.
Right.
Good night, guys.
Remember, this is what we
Bye.
wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what